What's going on, guys? This is another video from MK Alerts. My name's Pete. Today's video is going to be on the Gann Box, which is a tool in TradingView which I never really knew much about but wanted to use. There wasn't much information out on YouTube, which is everybody's main source of information, and hunting Google, I finally found some information that kind of made sense and just worked. The information that I found was from a document, this one, Gann Box analysis, found it on Google. I'll include the link to this in the description of the video, so take a look at your own time, digest it, see what you make of it. But in this video I'll go through exactly how those instructions work. And yeah, so basically there's two tools you need, both in TradingView, Gann Square and a Gann Box, and they both can be found in this section here. Gann Box, Gann Square. Don't need this fixed one, just the Gann Square. And then the basic steps are you must use specific ratios and specific fixed time intervals. So if you look on your right here, I'll just get rid of all of these lines. The ratio is this number up here. What you're looking at is the Gann Square, and you draw from major pivot highs or pivot lows. So in this example I've drawn it from the pivot low, and then I've made sure that my ratio is one of the key ratios and my time interval is one of the accepted time intervals. Basically this number has to be a multiple of 45, and this has to be one of the key ratios. Now I'll come on to some other examples in a bit where the ratio just might not work. For instance, the ratio just might be too small or too big, so you need to make it work, and I've found a way that you can adapt it to make it work on anything. And this is basically what I've described here. So in the event that you're working on an asset where the ratios shown above are too small or too big, you can add decimal points to help apply a more applicable Gann Box to your chart. So, and all these crazy lines, that is the Gann Box. So once you've drawn your Gann Square, got the correct ratio, correct time interval, you then overlay your Gann Box and make sure it matches up to the Gann Square lines. So what I'm going to do now is going to go through a couple of examples. So let me flick through to a new chart. First off, I'm going to do a new one on BTC. So what we do first, find our main pivot. So this is a pivot low, I'm going to draw it from here. So first things first is get our Gann Square. Click on that last pivot low wick, and we're going to go up. Now this is fixed. First time you use it, when you click it, it's fixed, so it doesn't really matter. So just click on it, and then a little blue dot will come up once you've clicked away, and then you can just mess around with it. So the first things first is we want to get a ratio, fixed time interval that we like, that fits what we want to do. How far out do we want to go? So usually I'd try not to go too far, but at least kind of at least double of what's already there. So if we go to around here, so we probably want to go to around 325, which is a correct multiple. Now, I mentioned earlier about ratios not really working sometimes. If I was to put that to one of the key ratios, 1, 2, 5, 10, 40, it would just be too small. It'd be down here somewhere. Wouldn't work. So instead of saying one of the standard ratios, we go into the settings, we go to style, and you've got the price to bar ratio. So here, what I will do is I'm going to put a ratio of 200. So where 2 is one of the key ratios, I'm going to add basically 2 zeros extra to it. So instead of 2 or 20, I'm going 200, and this works. So there you have basically the Gann square set up, ready for you to overlay your Gann box. So for instance, just going back to this, being a bit more specific, say, obviously 1 is one of the key ratios as well, but if I just put 1, it's going to be down here somewhere, it's going to be just useless. So I could go 100, bit bigger, but it doesn't cover the whole price. So we go 2, but then 2 is going to be too small, so we go 200. That's fine. So now I've got that, I can then get my Gann box. So click on Gann box, go to this from the same pivot, and then we draw it to basically match up the lines. Now what you can do is go back to your Gann square, go to coordinates, copy the price that's in number 2, and you can make a note of these 147472, and we just go back to our Gann box and make sure everything matches. 147472, price bar, put that in there, and that just lines everything up neatly. Now when you first use your Gann box, it won't look like this, it will look something like this, which is pretty useless to a degree if you just like lines. So to get it to look like I have it and the way you need it, go into the settings for the Gann box, go to style, and then we start changing things. So we want to get rid of the background on both the price levels and time levels. Scroll down, and we want to turn on angles. And if you want to change your colour, you can change it to something else. So we'll just go blue for now. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is pretty much how you apply a Gann box to your chart. Now if we have a look, obviously if you don't know too much about Gann lines and Gann fans and what they are, it basically provides the user some support and resistance levels to work to. Now they're not a magic bullet, but they can be very, very helpful and give you a good insight into where price might bounce. So for instance here, I've just chucked this on the BTC. I've not changed any of the other levels, so just to go over again, you've got the basic Gann levels, so 0.25, 382, 0.5, 0.68. So you've got a couple of key Fibonacci levels there. You can, if you want, change these to specific Fibonacci levels, just so everything is based on Fibonacci, and to a degree it does help. So you can have a couple of setups. I have a couple of setups saved. I've got kind of a golden pocket version, basic levels, minimal version, so there's less lines. You can do whatever you want to do. And yeah, so basically if we take a quick look here, so when price kind of got up to here, you saw it found some support and it found resistance along this Gann. It had a dip, again found support at this fib level and resistance on this Gann line. Again it dipped, and then it found support along this Gann line, which was support here and support again here. Did dip a little bit more, and then it had a pump to here, bit of resistance, but it didn't last long. Another pump, and you can see here this Gann line all the way has meant something. It's been resistance here, it was resistance here, support, and then it broke. And then sometimes you get instances where price just bounces around in what we call a Gann pocket, but again I found a bit of support here, resistance again up here, which was almost some kind of support resistance level along here. You get the drift. So these can provide a future insight into what or where price will find support and resistance. And obviously you can use Fibonacci retracements to add more confluence to a specific level, as well as kind of supply and demand zones, just key levels in general. It all adds and helps to provide confluence, and this is what it's about. So I'm going to do one more example, and I'm going to pick a coin that is a lower value, just so you can see another example of using the ratios and how to apply them in varying instances. So I'm going to go to Chili's. We're still on the daily. Again, once you've applied your Gann Box, you can then flick through any time frame you want. So here, probably go with this pivot high, so this wick up here. So again, we'll grab our Gann square, go from here, we'll go down, we'll find a ratio, probably go to 90 is a bit small, so we'll go 135, we'll add another 45 on top, 135, there we go. Now in this instance the ratio is tiny, and if we was to put a 1 it would just go so far down, it would just be ridiculous. Now 5 is a key ratio, so what we can do is just remove everything else here. So basically you've got your ratio of 5 is a key ratio number, but we've just added 2 decimal points into there. So you still work into a ratio of 5, but just adding 2 decimals. So I'm happy with that. And before I leave, I'm going to copy the coordinates while I'm in here of the second bar. Make a note of those, 249384. Now we can put our Gann box on. So again, it's pretty easy to line up the bar there, go into it, drop the price in here, 249384, they're cool, click OK, and there you go, and you've got your box added on. And what we can do, again, as I mentioned, you can go flick through time frames. You can also, once you've added your Gann box, delete the Gann square, don't need that anymore. So let's drop down to the 4 hour and get a bit more of a closer view of what's going on, what's happened. So you can try it a couple of times, you know, some different ratios or whatever, but usually the same outcome will happen, which I suppose adds weight to the power of these Gann boxes. They'll always seem to kind of find or line up with levels of visible resistance or support on price, which just means that when you do get future price action, usually you can use these Gann lines to help find support and resistance. So for instance here, this main Gann line here, you can see it found support there, broke down here, and then you kind of got this next Gann level down here, support, 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 support. Again, you get the drift. These Gann lines basically show you what's basically going to happen in the future to some degree. Again, you would use other things like Fibonacci retracements to figure out what's going on, give you a bit more confidence in what's happening. But yeah, that's basically a Gann box. And I'll tell you what, I'll do one more example on Ethereum. So Ethereum's a nice coin that I like. I think everybody likes Ethereum. And it also works quite nicely with the standard ratios. So I'll do one more, and I'm just going to do it real quick, just to show you how quick it is. So Gann square, let's go to 180. I'm going to go ratio of key ratio of 20. The closer you can get to a ratio of 1 is better, because that's the order of importance from 1 to 40. You've got 1, 2, 5, 10, 20 and 40. Those are your key ratios. But we're going 20 because it works nicely here. Get my Gann box. Click there. Line that up. I'm just going to do this by eye. There we go. Don't need the Gann square. Job done. And then we can drill down different time frames. So 12 hour, 6 hour. And you can see, so from the point of where we actually drew that, we've kind of got this line here that served as support for quite a while. Broke down a bit here. came back up, served as resistance as the price tried to get back up, and then kept on going. And then you've kind of got this line that goes all the way down here, which kind of served as support to a degree. But again, you've got lines here that served as resistance. And yeah, I've just chucked this on real quick. Probably could have done some better ratios and time intervals, but you get the idea. As I say, you can play around with this if you look at that and think, doesn't look great, could do that better. Maybe you've gone with a pivot that's probably not the best. Maybe you should have gone with the last dip. And so they're going with this pivot here. Probably should have gone with where the price actually started to raise. Or you could have gone from the pivot high and drawn it down. So just have a play around with it. This is the best use or best instructions I've found of using a Gann box. So yeah, I hope this is helpful. As I say, I'll drop the link to the instructions I found in the description of this video. Hope you find it useful. Thanks for watching and see you soon.